And we're back here at Impact Field. We're still in a rain delay, but we're going to take advantage of said rain delay. I'm joined here in the booth by the commissioner of the American Association, Josh Schaub. Josh, thanks for stopping by.
No place I'd rather be than right here, right now.
Yeah, that's right. We planned on having you in the middle of the game, but Mother Nature has had other ideas, and you and I have been sitting up here chatting for a little bit, so we figured, why not? Let's just go live now.
No doubt.
So thanks for coming in. It's your first time at Impact this year, right?
It is my first time at Impact this year. Obviously, frequent visitor, being down the road. I'm about 2 hours away personally. But what a great place. Even in this rain, you look out on the stage that has been set, the grounds crew. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So happy to be here, unhappy about the rain.
Yeah, our grounds crew does a fantastic job keeping this field playable and ready to go. And this rain was supposed to last about 30 minutes, and we're at about 45 now, and it's still coming down sideways. So we'll see what happens. But it's first inning. Had some look at some highlights here. It's Dusty Stroop. We were just going to talk about that. Dusty, he's having a great season. You gotta love seeing guys come in from the Pioneer League or Frontier League and make an impact right away here in the American Association.
You do kind of see a vertical forming within Partner League Baseball, where the Pioneer League clearly is a younger player. And actually, Steve Tassler, the commissioner of the Frontier League, was here tonight talking a little about their age and how they classify things clearly from the way it stacks up. The American Association, along with the Atlantic League, has some of the older players and clearly the top talent.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of that talent coming to our league this year. Dusty, it took him about a month or so to sort of figure things out, but Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago, he just hit his 20th home run. I found out today, actually, that after Dusty hit that 20th home run, only the second time in league history that a team has had 3 20 home run hitters in the same season.
That's great, because we always talk about the top, right? But like bulk home runs, pretty interesting. I know there were some teams up in Fargo in about the mid-2000s, Northern Leagues, now member of the American Association. They had some bomber teams back then, too.
It was the 2010 Sioux Falls Canaries. They had 3 guys with 20 home runs. The Dogs just the second team in league history to accomplish that. So that's pretty cool. So we got 7 days left in the regular season, and this is the second season, right, with the new playoff format.
It's the
third season? Okay,
yeah.
Third season. This year, it seems to be working out kind of exactly the way you would want, right? Right down to the stretch, teams battling for that final playoff spot with less than a week left.
Again, we were just talking to the Frontier League about what they do, and they're 6-16. And if you look at it, I really recommended looking at this 8 format, because what it does is it activates the top, because everyone's chasing the number 1 seed to pick their opponent. And at the same time, everyone's chasing the last spot, too. So it really activates so many more markets than actually make it into the playoffs. And for those that think, no one pays attention to the score, they come out to the ballpark for a good time, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's amazing how many people are activated by their playoff chase, even at Partner League level.
Yeah, we've got 7 days left, and there are still, 3 playoff spots open, 2 in the East, 1 in the West. So that's working out perfectly. And that the idea of the team that finishes first gets to pick their opponent in the first round, that always leads to some interesting decisions. I know back in 22, Dogs won the division. We picked the number 2 team in Milwaukee. Milwaukee ended up beating us in the first round. So sometimes it doesn't always work out, but you get that little extra incentive when you're the team that's being picked, right? To go out and say, you want to play us? All right, well, let's do it then.
It's funny, because when we really proposed this, I had this vision in my head that teams would get up at a podium and announce their opponent, but I found as managers so reticent to give them bulletin board material on the other side that we've had to be pretty creative about how it's announced. So one year I announced who the opponents would be, and I actually filmed every possible scenario, and then we picked the scenarios that obviously were chosen by the teams. And now we've kind of settled into, who's best to do it is the mascots, because that's not offensive to anybody, right? It's not really, and they can't talk, so they're not going to give bulletin board material. So we've gone to that in recent times too. But yes, very intriguing setup. Both the 8-team playoffs out of 12, also picking the opponent, which is not. I think there was only one other professional league that actually did it before us, the SPHL in hockey. However, I know NBA, in fact, has talked about this. And I think there's some other teams at the top level, and we're proud to say that we're the innovator.
There you go. I love it. And I know, the league right now is sitting with 12 teams, 6 in the East, 6 in the West, and I know that you've talked about, potentially expanding the league and growing the league into some other cities. What does that kind of look like?
It's ongoing, and for anyone that's in real estate development, they know that this is it's not done until there's shovels in the ground. Not only financing, but shovels in the ground. So these are long processes, oftentimes 3 to 5 to 6 to 7 years. In fact, at our All-Star game, we had some developers come in and talk about previous builds of stadiums that they had done, and one indicated that he's done 3 of them. First one took 5, the next one took 10, and the last one took 20 years to actually build out from time they started talking to the city to the final brick that went on the building. So, yes, expansion's in our future. Work, live, play has unlocked some secondary and tertiary cities that we thought would never have professional baseball, but now we're there. We're on the precipice of making some further announcements, because we've already announced some.
We've already announced a little bit, yeah. I want to talk for a second about last season after the season concluded. The Fargo-Moorhead Redhawks went down to Mexico and played in a tournament down there, and team played really well and kind of showed what this league is capable of when you compare it to some of the other pro leagues that are out there. More of the same this year. Is that growing at all? Or
I'm glad you brought that up. It is growing. We have an announcement coming out hopefully within the next 10 days about that tournament. There's going to be some adjustments to the time frame of when that happens, which I think will be advantageous to us from a media perspective, finding some better windows to when to play that tournament. Also an expansion of the country's champions. So as opposed to WBC, which is the countries playing each other, it's the top leagues within the countries playing each other. And clearly we're the top of the partner league stack. So our team goes on to play the top the MLB equivalent in Mexico, Colombia, and Cuba. And now we're going to announce 2 more countries sending their champions and potentially 2 more. So it's growing. Also, internationally it's growing. So Europe starts their BCL, and then Asia will start their BCL in 2025. So we're excited about the growth of that. You can probably see what's coming is that all of those champions will come together and play each other in a world championship.
I love it. I mean, the World Baseball Classic, especially this past season, I mean, it was just so enthralling to watch. And for fans of baseball to get more baseball is just a good thing, right? I mean, more baseball is a good thing. So that's looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah, and I should say, one of the proudest moments I had as a commissioner was that Saturday night in Yucatan when we beat LMB's champion 2-1, and our players just gutsy performance, pulling it off, because I think it was kind of a shock to the baseball world.
Right.
Who everyone thought it was like MLB, NPB, LMB, and here comes the AAPB to take out LMB, and it's kind of the third slot among leagues in the world.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I mean, that team was put together. It was mostly Redhawks, but there were players from around the league that were coming together kind of last minute as a team, and they had to mesh together, whereas some of these other teams have been playing together all year. So to be able to just come in and not only hang with but beat some of these professional leagues around the world. I mean, that speaks to the talent level that we have here in the league.
Yeah, and really the agreement in WBSC, and I sit on the steering committee for the event, is the spirit of the team has to be the core from that franchise. So it could be last year or this year, but it has to be the core. And every league allowed in players. Now, as we evolve, as the BCL evolves, we're going to get tighter and stricter roster limits. But with players not knowing what it was, what it could be, we had to be somewhat flexible. And let's face it, we want to get the best talent on the field.
Right.
And that's what we did. In fact, Roy Morales, who's playing for Milwaukee, was the BCL MVP, is here tonight, who played on that Fargo roster for the BCL.
Yeah, Roy Morales is a good ball player. He's definitely a good ball player. And just talk a little bit more about the talent. One thing that from my perspective, this is my 5th season with the team, my first year kind of sitting in this chair after having replaced Sam. And one of the biggest things that I've seen this year is the level of talent that we're getting right out of college. You look at our pitching staff right now. Our starting pitcher tonight, Zach Davidson, went to Indiana State. He was pitching for Indiana State a month ago. He's come in. He's before tonight's game, he had allowed two earned runs in his first 17 innings as a starter. Lucas Galdoni has been an absolute stud for us out of the bullpen. So we're getting a lot of these young kids coming in who are getting an opportunity to show what they're capable of, and not at young ages.
Yeah, part of that's the product of the collective bargaining agreement in Major League Baseball, reducing the draft from 50 rounds to 20 rounds. There's a lot of players that get passed over that are really good ball players. And again, I point to the stacking of the MLB Partner League vertical, where there's now a pathway for players that are passed over that get back to Major League Baseball. In fact, we just had alumni tonight make their Major League debut again. So it does happen, and players are seeing it more and more, so they're also more likely to continue their professional career knowing that this is a viable pathway to Major League Baseball. And, I mean, the new CBA for Major League Baseball emphasizes MLB promoting younger players to the big leagues. And what that does is it releases older players, and the draft reduction lets, senior signs, we'll call them, players that would have been senior signs of the old traditional draft, come to our league and continue to perform.
You look at Dogs had somebody in that situation last year. We signed Peyton Eels about halfway through the season, and he's sitting in AAA right now with a shot.
Amazing.
It really is to see to see the growth of some of these young guys. But then you also get there was a game earlier this season. Red Sox and Yankees were playing each other. Jay Cousins was pitching for the Yankees. Cam Boozer was pitching for the Red Sox.
Very cool.
Two Chicago Dogs facing each other in a Red Sox-Yankees series. And just to see the names and to see these guys get those opportunities, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, there's so many of those cool stories. And I think as a league, we've done a pretty good job of bubbling up those stories. The J.D. Schulten story has kind of caught the league by storm this year, and if nobody has heard of J.D., you should look him up.
Absolutely.
Iowa State center that, was playing high-level professional baseball, but became a state center for Iowa and called in for emergency start and just lit the world on fire there for a while and continues to pitch pretty well. So that's been exciting. But those stories about, a player's last chance, or this is the player's been passed over, he's been released 3 times, or no one will sign this player. There's a chance for us in this league. We are, in our DNA, we are a second chance league. We are the league that some MLB team or 30 MLB teams thought you were not good enough, come to play with us, prove them wrong. And that's who we are, and we continue to have those stories.
Well, I hope for more of it, hope for more success. I know that this Dogs team is incredibly talented. We were talking about Jacob Teeter beforehand, and just the talent throughout the league is at a really high level, and it looks like the rain may have stopped here.
Well, I'm looking on the tarp. It might be wind blowing that standing water, but yeah, it's looking a lot better. People are standing on the field, which is a good sign. I see Clay Parks down there talking to both dugouts. So the umpires are on the field. They're probably going to take a walk here.
See what the field looks like. Well, Josh, thanks for spending a few minutes with me here in the booth. Like I said, I wish we'd been able to do it during the game. Maybe if the game picks back up, you can come back in and you can join me for a little bit, but I don't want to keep you too much. Appreciate your time. Dogs and Milkmen still in a rain delay here at Impact, but we're hopeful here in Rosemont.